Thank you very much, Corey. We're going to try to make the subject of business planning fun. And Corey already knows that he can't run away too far because I'm going to pick on him later and make him answer some questions along with everybody else. We will try to keep business planning a little less heavy than it normally is. And we'll try to be interactive. So we do have some polls so that you get a chance to offer your opinion as we go along and do some things that make it a little more interesting than the usual sit and stare at the screen webinar. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I started my first business in junior high school. It was not window washing. I did a car wash service at a local gas station. And I was a little less of a failure than Corey in that I was able to actually call on some customers, but I didn't make a lot of money doing that. But it was the first thing, you know. Everybody starts somewhere with something. And since then I've had a lot of my own businesses. My husband and I have run businesses. I've had successes and I've had failures, and I think that we all learn from both of those. We probably learn more from our failures than we do our successes. So we're going to talk about, right now I have a liquor store and a cattle ranch that Corey mentioned, but I also do Tourism Currents, which is online training for tourism folks to learn how to use social media to market their town. And then I speak and write on small business. And so that's a lot of businesses to manage at the same time. And the techniques that I'm going to share with you are things that I use myself to manage my businesses. So we're going to talk about these 4 ways. And in fact, the photo that you see on this slide is actually my set of plans for this from 2010 when I took that photo. And now, as I went through all of this, getting this ready, I realized I hadn't actually started on this process for this year until I got started on this webinar. So I've been working on my plan. We all have to work on it. So we'll do a business plan and a marketing plan. These will not be traditional old-style business plans that you have to do when you turn them in for a loan or for the SBA. These are the kind of thing that you would refer to yourself. And then we're going to tackle record-keeping systems, which is, you know, what are you doing for all your financials? How is your bookkeeping handled? And then we'll go to making an index card. I'm a big believer in the index card, and we'll talk about why that is. So before we launch into that, we want to talk about why we plan. Because other than somebody told me I had to, why would you actually go to the trouble of making a plan? And we are trying to be better prepared to meet the future, because the future is going to come up to us. We're going to have to deal with it. And either we're going to create the one we want, or we're going to be better prepared to meet what happens to us. A lot of people don't think very clearly about why they're working on a plan. And so if you can remember the basic purpose, it makes it easier to do the planning. So, all right, now we're going to do our first poll right here. So we're going to talk about what kind of plans you have right now. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I want everybody that's at the chat room to go ahead and I want you to type in right now an answer to this poll, whether the first possible answer is that you have no written plans. The second possible answer is you have some amount of written plans. And then the third answer might be that you have a world-class, written, polished business plan. So if you want to put that in the chat room, and that's at entrepreneurshiplab.net/live, and we're seeing some responses: no written plans, some plans. See, the way I had done this originally with polls was that you could be anonymous, but your anonymity is gone now. You have to fess up right here. Some written plans, no written plans, some plans. So we're seeing some. Nobody's has a stellar written business plan, and I can understand that, because as I had to admit myself, you know, I'm getting in the process of writing up my plans for this year as well, and people are admitting they don't mind fessing up to not having plans, and that's good, because we've got some more questions as we go along that may get to the point that you may or may not want to have to answer them all. So let's start on the simplified business plan. This is taking the old idea that a business plan needs to weigh 5 pounds and throwing that out and doing something simpler. And I've just collected up a bunch of pictures of business plans and marketing plans that I found online. Something a little more fun than the usual, you know, the usual clip art that gets stuck onto presentations. So your business plan, the first one, step 1 here, if you're writing these down as you go, go ahead and write this one down. Step 1 is to describe your business. And this is to help you get some clarity, because it's amazing how many times I talk to someone who is either currently in business or thinking of going into business, and the idea they have is very vague, or they haven't narrowed it down yet. They're still, well, it's going to be kind of like this. And so see if you can write a one-sentence clear description of exactly what your business is going to be. Now, then see if you can expand that into a full paragraph that gets a little more detail. You can see I'm letting you off easy, because the old style SBA business plan calls for, 15 sections in the describe the business section. And we're going to let you get off with just a paragraph about what makes your business unique and why are you the right person to do this. I mean, there's a specific reason that you've come to this point and have your business. So go ahead and share that, write that down, and explain what makes you the right person to do this. And that will help you get a lot more clear picture of what it is that you're going to try to accomplish. And we'll move on to the step 2. The second step of this is to tell about your markets. And we're going to make this part pretty easy, because we'll talk more about markets as we get into the simplified marketing plan. So telling about your markets at this stage can be pretty simple. You can just list off some of your existing clients. You can write a really good description of your ideal client. And the best way to do that is picture one specific person. Who is the one person that is your ideal client? What are they like? What is your ideal customer? The better you can picture them, the better you can describe them, the easier it becomes to actually go after those markets. So we'll talk more about markets as we go on down into the other business plan. This was maybe one of my favorite business plans I found online, the squiggle business plan. I think I've been guilty of making a squiggle business plan myself before. Step number 3 is to set some measurable goals for this year. So now we're down to it, aren't we? We're going to have to set some numbers. We're going to have to come up with goals that actually can be measured against what we're doing. So you want to break this down by each revenue stream. Within each business, you have more than one revenue stream usually. So if you're just thinking of the liquor store, then we have beer, wine, spirits. But if you think about something like Tourism Currents, which is my online training tourism business that I do with Sheila Scarborough and Leslie McClellan, have to shout out for their names there. But we do several different things. There's some direct consulting, there's online training, there are products you can buy. So for each stream of revenue, you want to set a goal of how much you can achieve this year. Now, this is probably where a lot of people make a big error, and that is that they set a goal based on what they need to have. And so the revenue goals are based more on what I want than what I can accomplish. So you need to make sure that your revenue stream is achievable based on the amount of time that you have available to do work. Based on the amount of time you have available, how much revenue are you likely to generate? All right. I think I just saw the notice that Corey's figuring out the polls there. We've got... He's got a plan now, baby. We're set to go. Okay, we're going to go from here. We've talked about making sure that you've set measurable goals for revenue, that they're based on what you can actually achieve, not just what you want. And we're going to go down to number 4 on the simplified business plan. And this is going to be the next step, which is listing off the actions that will get you to those goals. Based on that revenue, how much work will it take? How long does it take you to create whatever it is you're selling? So if, for example, you do design and a design job takes an average of 2 hours, then if you have 30 work hours a week, then that's 15 jobs. 15 jobs by whatever times the amount you get is your weekly revenue goal. So you need to make sure that that actually lines up with those goals you set. You may at this point find out that that revenue goal you set was not that realistic. And so you need to adjust it based on the time that you have available to do work. This is kind of the first step of really getting to nitty gritty of figuring out how what you want to accomplish in your business this year is something you're going to do on a daily basis. What do you need to do every day that helps you to generate revenue? What actions are those that move you towards it? Now, that's all 4 steps of the simplified business plan. I don't think any plan needs more than 4 things. So those are the 4. But you can see that we're ending at the point of you taking action. So we figured out, set up what the business is like, and then we worked out what the customers were like, set the revenue goals, and then said, now what do I have to do every single day to make that happen? Today I will do the things that bring money into my business. And it's actually, while that's a really simple, extremely simple setup, it's something that probably 90% of businesses never do. Never do even this much. So it's important that you look at how much planning you've done so far and at least take some simplified steps towards planning. And that's going to bring us up to marketing plans. We're going to go to marketing plans next. And there we go. We've got a poll that's going to go about marketing. So Corey, if you can kick off that poll. There we go, your marketing mojo. So we'd like to know, how is your poll, or how's your poll? How is your marketing? That's what we want to know. A lot of people are either not sure of what to do, or they know what to do, they just don't do enough of it. So let's give folks just a minute or two to answer that, a moment or two. I miss having all the organizer tools where I can see the answers and everything. Awesome. And most everybody, 3/4. Okay, so who's in the lead right now? Okay. Okay. How many people said that they were really great? 5%. All right, let's hear it for the 5%. Okay. Okay. All right. Look at that. So not everybody's feeling really great about their marketing, but at least folks are very confident about knowing what they need to do. Then it just becomes a question of, how do you get yourself to actually do that on a regular basis? And then for those that are not sure, which is the other option, and quite a few folks admitted that, well, I'm just not as sure as I should be about what to do. So let's do some marketing planning here that'll help you get a little more certain about that. So we'll start in on a simplified marketing plan. This is the part where we get to pick on Corey. So in the first step in the simplified marketing plan is just to name and describe each market that you need to reach. So Corey, for iThemes, let's give some examples of different markets. What different kinds of markets do you sell to from iThemes? That's a pretty broad group right there. Can you be more specific? Yeah, so you have some designers, you have developers, you have individual businesses, and then you have other groups that are not necessarily businesses, maybe nonprofits or organizations that are all purchasing from you. And so those are different kinds of markets. So the mindset of, say, a designer is probably very different from the mindset of a liquor store owner. And how you reach those people is probably very different. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at here is this idea that you need to break down your markets into different chunks so that you can figure out how to reach those people. So as you name and describe each one of those markets, using Corey's examples, we would go through and we would put designers and we would put developers and then describe them and talk about how we might reach those people. So that would be, then we would go on to step 2, which is telling what methods that we use to reach them. And, each class of customers are going to be reached by different media or by different methods. So this is the step where you get to brainstorm. You get to just list off all these different media or methods that you might use to reach customers, and base it off of that list of customers, potential customers, and talk about each method that you might use to reach them, and just brainstorm, because there's tons of different marketing ideas out there, and I think this is where a lot of our uncertainty comes from, is that there are so many different methods we could use that we're not sure what we should be doing. So right here we're brainstorming and coming up with a long list, because then the next step will cut it down. So in this step we're telling all the methods that might be working with a particular market. So under the heading of business owners, then Corey is going to use tools that help him reach business owners. So for example, being a very online business, then you guys probably do some outreach with small business sites. You probably connect with small business owners. Entrepreneurship Lab sounds like a really good example of connecting with designers and different people within the total group of customers. It's just t-shirts. Let's see. I loved finding this. I had more fun looking for plans online and finding where people were being silly with it. And 99% t-shirts might work. It's a significant portion of our marketing budget for the liquor store, I'll tell you that. The last set of shirts we went to the Bahamas to pick up, and we took them to Bahama Breakaway for the college. See, that's the kind of thing that we do, is we think about what would appeal to college students in our town, and t-shirts is one of them. Okay, so now that we've got this long brainstormed list, now we've got to cut it down. Now we're talking about cost. We're talking about the cost in time and the cost in money, and we can start cutting out ways that are not the best ones for us. So if we had a lot of confusion with that huge long list of potential methods, now we're going to start making some sense out of it. Now we're going to start kicking some things out and say, well, that whole billboards along I-35 plan is not going to work out. I'm going to need to cut that because it's going to cost too much money. Those t-shirts have to go. That's just going to be too much money. So you can figure that out. And I mentioned talking about the cost in time, because a lot of times we look at all social media is free, it doesn't cost you anything. And I know better than that, and you probably know better than that. It does take time. It takes time to do a good job of marketing a business through social media. So make sure that you pay attention to both of those costs and start cutting out the ones that are not a good fit. And in fact, think about picking just the top ones. What are the very best methods that you can use to reach each one of those markets? So now that we've started cutting some things out, then we come to meshing it with your daily habits. And you knew, based on what we talked about in the business plan, you knew that I would bring this back to what you do every day. And that's the thing, before in the business plan we talked about dividing up your production activities. How long does it take you to do the work? Now we're talking about dividing up all the marketing that you need to do. So what can you do in your daily habits that make marketing part of everything, the things that you do every single day? And how can you make the most of each one of the actions that you take? So if you look at your list of the very best marketing activities that you made in the last step, Now we're going to see how can you act on those every day. How can marketing become one of your daily habits? Now you understand why I'm harping on making marketing a daily habit. It's because too many of us get into this cycle, which is business is good, so we're real busy, so we don't market too much right now, and then business kind of slows down because we're not marketing. We find ourselves in a slow period and we start marketing like crazy, and we market like crazy, and then suddenly business picks up, and then we're busy, so we quit marketing and then business tapers back off. And you just get into this cycle that goes over and over. So I want you to stop thinking of marketing as something you do when things slow down and start thinking of marketing as something you do every day in your business. Every day in your business. So I already said, I know that you heard me say that no plan needs more than 4 things. So you know that's the end of the simplified marketing plan right there, is that there should only be 4 there. And we're going to get down to alternatives. And this, we're going to kick off another poll here before we go further. And this poll is, are you going to do it? And so your choices are, those sound simple enough, and this second choice is that's still too complex. I think I'll keep it all in my head. And then finally, are you kidding? I'm already drafting mine. I see t-shirts was a very popular response earlier in the chat here. But see, here's a really good point. Somebody says, I never thought of marketing on a daily basis. And I tell you what, this is the thing. If you don't pick up anything else from what we talk about today, I'd really love for you to pick up the ideas that what you do every day relates to your production as well, and as every day you work on marketing. Every day. I think Carrie's excited. She says that she's would be drafting hers right now. Hey, look at this. Those are some good results. I've got them on a little tiny screen, so I'm like leaning in to look at them there. Only a couple of people think it's way too complex. Carrie, we'll catch you up. I promise there is a recording being made, and so we're going to get that posted up live, or up where you can watch it after we're all done here. So don't feel bad that you missed. We'll get you caught up. And so now we are ready, I think, to go on. So more alternatives. I have more alternatives because I've had people tell me that they cannot get their brains around business planning, even a simplified business plan. Now, I think the 4 steps in the simplified business plan are pretty simple, but there are some other ways to do it, and so we'll talk about some of those. Now, the first one of these alternatives is about preparing. Like you prepare your ground if you're a farmer, or you prepare your garden soil. I have a friend named John Swanson, and he doesn't really like the idea of planning, partly because he serves in a number 2 role. He's not the chief executive. He's the guy that makes sure everything happens. So he's not the one that creates the goal and the plan. He's the guy that looks ahead and says, what could happen in the next year? What could happen in the next 3 months? And how can we get ready for that? So if you're the kind of person that you still can't, you can't really look out and say, I'm going to set that specific revenue goal, but you can still look out and say, now what might be coming at us in the next year, and how can we get ready for that? So that's a useful alternative for some people that view the future in a little bit different way. Another alternative, if you still really hate business plans, this is for the creative types in the audience. This is the imagine. If you could just imagine what your business would be like. This one is from my friend Star Gardner. This is a little collage she did. She's doing one of these every day for the upcoming year. But she did her business plan this way as well, made a little collage of her business plan. Because she doesn't, she's an artist. She doesn't like long, boring blocks of text. The idea of a financial projection that goes 4 years into the future is just not the way her brain works. And so she likes colors and pictures and drawing, and so she draws out where she wants to be. She puts together, she can tell you the story and meaning of every little scrap of paper on that collage and how it relates to where her business is going. So once again, even though she's not doing a financial projection on Excel spreadsheet, what she is doing is putting in a lot of thinking time, and she is considering where her business is going and trying to picture the future that she is going to create. And that gives you a much better basis to move forward than I didn't spend any time at all thinking about where we were going. So if you're the artist type, you may want to go with just imagine. Now, the last time I wrote about business plan alternatives, one of my readers at Small Biz Survival told me how she does hers with a calendar, and I had never heard of anybody doing a business plan with a calendar. But this actually works really well. Her name's Carrie Bodeman, and she has a store called As Good as New. So she's a little resale shop, and they keep a daily log of all their sales. So just from a monthly calendar like that, they fill it in with the gross sales, any discounts they gave, and then how many total customers came in the door. And then they record if it was bad weather or if there was a big festival in town, anything that would affect their sales, so they know why they had either a really good day or a really bad day. She highlights any days where they do a promotion, a special mailer or a Facebook promotion or email. And then she totals across every week. She totals up every month. And then she also totals down the page and totals up all the Mondays so that she can see how they compare to the year before. She calculates total sales by customers, which is just takes the total sales, divides it by the number of customers that came in that day. And that lets her see what the average sale is. And so when a customer walks in the door, she knows they're worth $40 or whatever her average sale is. She says it's very amazing how accurate that is to help her forecast her sales. She has all her January months together, so she can look back at last January and go, well, was that really slow after Christmas, or was it really busy as the college came back into session, or all the things that affect her business. And then it also lets her find places that are historically slow and then run a promotion that week, or she can send out an email and let customers know, to try to bring up additional business during a week that's usually slow. And Carrie said that they have managed to stay in business for 9 years and have consistently higher sales each year. So clearly using her calendar to do her planning has worked very well for Carrie. And if you have a business that works that way, then it may be a tool that'll work well for you. We have one last alternative for business plans, and this is the I like to blow stuff up and experiment model. I don't know, this might appeal more to boys to be able to experiment and blow things up in the business. But it's not just, trying things, it's also methodically testing. If you think about it, like the scientific method, you want to follow all the steps of you come up with an idea of what you want to test, you figure out how you're going to test it, you figure out how you'll measure whether it is or is not working, and then you're going to measure before and during and after. You're going to run your tests and see how well it worked, and then decide, did that work or not? And then refine your idea and test that. So it's not as much fun as just blowing stuff up, but it is the ability to try alternatives and see how well they work out. So, but do make sure that you are measuring and checking, not just trying things at random, but you are specifically setting out with an idea, finding a way to test it, doing the relevant measurement, and then determining whether or not it worked and how to improve on it. So that's experimenting. So those are 4 alternatives for people that still can't do the traditional business plans and want something a little more fun or a little different way to work at it. And that takes us through the business planning section. So that's a point where everybody can have a sigh of relief that we're done doing planning. So the bad news is we're going to talk about record-keeping systems, and this may be the Achilles heel of everyone. We do have a poll for this one too, and it's about your current record-keeping system. So we want to see what you are doing with your record-keeping right now. Are you well organized or not so well organized? Are you on paper or are you online? And then the other option is whether you're one of those shoebox people that just has a big old pile of papers somewhere. We're going to see how honest everyone is because we know there are some shoebox people out there. That would be the shoebox. You're gonna have to go with shoebox if you're like, I don't know what organization is for my records. This is probably the hardest thing for most small business people. It is so hard to get a good handle on your financials. Unless you are a bookkeeper by trade, nobody really likes doing their bookkeeping. So don't feel bad if you are one of those people. How'd we come out here? Ooh, there's a lot of shoe boxes in the room. See, that this is interesting. Everybody breaks down into two basic groups. There are the really well organized and online, and then there are the not so well organized on paper and in a shoebox. So we've got two distinct groups here tonight. So if you're one of those really well organized online folks, then you're going to be answering questions in the chat room. Help your friends out, because it's a hard thing to get your hands around and to get your brain around, is to keep on top of your record keeping. So I am sympathetic to that. I struggle with my own record keeping at times too. Now, I'm going to take a quick look at the time. I want to leave some time for question and answer, so I don't want to. I do want to give you a quick look at these websites, but I don't want to take too much time and use up the question and answer time. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you some online record keeping systems that are easy to work with and do not cost a lot. And the first one is Wave, and I have used Wave in my own business. It is fast and it is easy and not hard to deal with. Let's see here. All right. The great thing about online demonstrations with webinars is it takes a while for your screen to catch up with my screen and what I'm showing. So I will not try anything too complex here. Just give you a look at the website. This is at waveapps.com. They have an invoicing side that allows you to do invoicing, and they don't charge for it, which is kind of unusual in the online tools world. The accounting system also is free, 100% and online. There are a lot of people that use mint.com for their personal accounting, and it's a good tool, but it's not really designed for business. So these tools are actually designed to work with your business. Wave will allow you in their accounting to pull in records from your online banking system and from several other systems like PayPal and credit cards that are online. And that really helps that you don't have to sit down and enter every transaction. So that makes your life a little easier, that you're not having to enter all of those transactions. Okay, the next one that I wanted to show you is called Outright.com. Now, Outright.com is another one that I've used in my business, and you can see from the picture that I chose there to represent them, this is one of their graphics, and they pull from your bank and from your credit cards and from PayPal, but also from other places that you might sell online for your business. And they have a very good system. I've met several of the folks that work with Outright, and they're good folks and they do good stuff. So Outright I have on screen here. We'll pull that up and I'll give it a moment to load on everyone's screen. It is one, they have some free plans and they have some paid plans, but they have a very good system. I have enjoyed working with their system because it's very straightforward, and I'm probably not as happy as the gal they have here on their screen, but you know, it's still accounting. So that's the way it works. The last one, I'll just go ahead and click on it here and then go back to the slide. But the last one is called shoeboxed.com, and it is, this is where you take that pile of mess that you have, that paper, those of you that admitted you're using the shoebox, if you'll at least sort it into categories, put your invoices or your receipts together and just send it in, they will scan that stuff for you and they will turn it into electronic records for you. This is the easiest way to dig yourself out of a big backlog of ugly paper that you're tired of staring at and that you know that you're never going to process by hand. This is not free, but you know there is a penalty for having let your stuff pile up until the pile of paper slides down over the top of your desk and onto the floor. And I know that from experience. I haven't used Shoebox, but I have buried myself under a pile of paper that I was just behind. This is a good service. They've been around for several years, and they do good work. People that have used it have spoken in very glowing terms of the service that they provide. So if you need it, then you want to look them up, shoebox.com. All right. Thus ends the live demonstration. Oh, there we go. So that was Shoeboxed right there, and we are ready for making an index card reminder. And I am a big believer in the index card reminder. Every time I explain this to people, they immediately try to change it. Oh, I'll just make a sticky note and stick it to my monitor. Now, we have a poll here, don't we? There's a poll that goes right here. This is about how you connect what you're doing with what you with those daily steps that we talked about before, with are you actually doing those during the day? And so that's part of looking at your workday. Are you able to follow a routine or not? So that's why I'm asking about what your routine is like. Whether you have one of those crazy schedules and you never know what you're going to be working on, or if your days are fairly predictable, or if you're just somewhere in the middle. I guess I kind of fall somewhere in the middle because most days I have a pretty standard routine, but with more than one business, you never know. You never know what's going to be going on. I'm going to make a bet right now and say that most of our answers will be people saying that they have a crazy schedule. What's your bet? Some of each. Okay. Oh man, my choice came in second place. So much for my predictive ability. And then we have some people that say they wouldn't want a routine. Rodney mentioned would not want a routine. And I can understand that. I don't think any of us would like a rut, but to a certain extent, knowing what's expected of us and knowing what to do can be very helpful. So let's go back to the index card. Let's talk about why an index card and why a sticky note is not a good enough answer. A sticky note on your monitor does not work because if you're the kind of person that likes sticky notes on your monitor, you probably have 20 sticky notes on your monitor, in which case one more will not help. And the other thing that people say is, well, I'll put that in Evernote, or I'll put that on computer somewhere. I'll have it on my phone. I'll have it. That's okay, but it doesn't work as well as an actual paper index card. And here's why. An index card, unless you're one of the 0.04% of the population who love index cards and use them for everything, an index card is a little bit unusual, and so it sticks out to you better. It will be noticeable in that pile of sticky notes. It will be noticeable on your desk, and it will help you go back day to day and tie that to your actions. So this is where you take those daily goals and actions that you came up with during your plans, and you use that to affect your today I will statements. And so I searched on today I will, and this cute little bring value to the world graphic is what I found for today I will. But it helps you to decide what things need to be done today. You remember we said marketing was something you work on every single day. Well, having that written as an actual action step of which marketing actions you need to take each day makes it very simple. If one of your marketing actions each day is to create a new piece of online content, then you know that today you need to do that. So whatever actions you came up with in your plan, both for production and for marketing, you want to put those right on your index card. And I also put my total revenue goals on there so that it would help inspire me that, you know, each daily action added up to revenue. So that was a motivational point. Now, the next step of that is not only to have the card that helps you remember which parts are important for you, but then to use that to actually do a review. You need a review at the end of every day and say, well, did I do those things that I know I need to be working on? And then pick out, okay, so what is the most important step for me to start with tomorrow? That helps you to better plan your work across the day. At the end of every week, it's very good if you will sit down at the end of the week and review. How did I do this week? Did I do, most days I did pretty good. I got off track because I was traveling on those days, or, you can determine patterns that way if you'll sit down and do the reviews. Review every month and see how you're doing towards your goals. Maybe you need to adjust your goals so that you don't get to the end of the year and go, oh, those goals I said at the beginning of the year, they didn't mean anything. You want to get to the end of the year and know that you're on track as you go. So if you have that index card there to remind you, then it can help you to conduct those reviews. And so then your plan, instead of being something that like got written and put in a binder and stuck on a shelf, then your plan becomes something that actually guides your daily actions and that you actually do something different from. It's actually affected your behavior. That's the ultimate goal that we'd like to get towards. So is that we'd like to, have it affect everything that we do in our business. Now, that is the last of the slides. There we go. And so I want to pop into the chat room right quick and see what kind of questions folks have. Oh, I see people are answering each other's questions. I love it when I see that people are answering each other's questions. Oh, okay, yes. The quick poll here is, are you going to, how will you follow up from what we just talked about? Are you going to be working on your simplified plans, one of the alternatives, or your record-keeping systems, or making your reminder card? And we actually wanted another choice. We wanted a sixth choice on here, and then we found out that GoToWebinar will not let us have 6 choices. The last choice was, I'm not doing any of these things. So if you want that as your choice, you have to put that in the chat room, because there is not room for that in the system here. If you're not going to do anything, we are going to heckle. Yeah, I wanted, okay, see, now this is a good point. Some people want to select 3 of the answers, and I had actually hoped that we could do checkboxes and like have multiple choice there. These things happen. So if you want to pick 3 things, then you can actually go ahead and put all 3, pick one, pick your top one that you're going to start on first for the poll, and then you can put any extras here in the chat room. And if you have some questions you'd like me to address, we still have about 15 minutes, and I will be glad to address some questions. I see somewhere up, just scrolled off the top of the screen, it said, I'll ask Becky, and I don't know what it was you were going to ask me, but you'll get me there. But Carrie also, oh, it did? Okay. Yes, Wave can handle multiple accounts, which is very important for me, having more than one business. And I have used QuickBooks. In fact, I used to teach QuickBooks back in the bad old days, in the dark ages. Oh, look, we have answers. I have not. But, so it looks like most folks are going to start with the simplified plan and the reminder card. That's good. Those are 2 good places to start. I see that no one has selected improving their record keeping, even though most people admitted they probably ought to. So I'm just going to give everybody a little nudge. If you know you're one of those people that knows you ought to work on your record keeping system, it's January, and now is a good time to be working on your record keeping system, because there is so little to have to go back and catch up. Okay. And for those of you who don't know Corey, I'll tell you that Corey is a wonderful entrepreneur here in Oklahoma. He gets overlooked a lot by the Oklahoma folks when they're talking about high-tech businesses in the area. And they just miss that iThemes, one of the premier theme companies for WordPress, is based right here in Oklahoma. And in fact, they do wonderful stuff with workforce development. They do a lot of training. They're working on improving the people and the skills of people within Oklahoma, and I applaud that. So I see some good stuff popping up here in the chat, and I want to address it. Let's see here. Carrie pointed out that she uses alarms a lot to help keep herself on track. So if you're the kind of person that can keep track with alarms, I use a timer a lot. I'll set myself a specific task I need to work on, something I need to write or process, and I'll give myself 45 minutes to work on it. Half an hour is too short. By 45 minutes, you're really getting in the groove, and I usually will run over then. Um, and then somebody said that they were a Franklin planner kind of person, which is okay. Franklin planners are good. If you'll take something, if you'll make one page then in your planner, one page reminder of your goals and your daily actions, and use that then to help yourself plan out. Sarah Page, hi Sarah, asked about FreshBooks. FreshBooks is mostly invoicing, unless they have expanded lately. I haven't checked in with them for a while, and they may have expanded their offerings, but it used to be just for invoicing. Somebody correct me if I got that wrong. And then the next question was, is Wave the only one of the bookkeeping programs that can handle multiple businesses? And that is, the answer to that is no. Besides Wave, then Outright can also handle some multiple businesses depending how you set it up. I actually looked into both of those. I only have one business in each of those programs. I've kind of spread out. Lynn says she uses large and small index cards. See, that's very balanced of you. Dry erase boards. I hear a lot of people who use dry erase boards as their way of planning. And I just cannot get into the whole dry erase board planning thing. I don't know why. It's just not the way that my brain works, but it is, if it works for you, as long as what you did is not like the squiggles, like we saw the one squiggle dry erase board, you got to put some specific stuff on there. Focus and routine is my goal for this year. That is a really good set of goals for this year. QuickBooks version 2006. Okay, Rodney, you need to update your QuickBooks. Oh, and Greg's given me a good swift kick because I use Blogger for small biz survival. I wasn't even going to bring up the whole Blogger versus WordPress thing here, but I will say this. I have multiple businesses, and for each business, I use the platform that makes the most sense for that business. So tourismcurrents.com runs on WordPress. I have other sites that run on WordPress. Small Biz Survival still runs on Blogger because it's not actually intended to be a revenue generator. It's something I do to provide a service. And then my liquor store, bless its heart, is also on Blogger because it's a liquor store, It doesn't need a really high-tech system there. Sharon has got QuickBooks 2010, which is not too far out of the current version there. Oh my gosh, Lillian has read my book twice. Wow, thank you, Lillian. Where are we here? Struggled with focus. See, we all struggle with focus, and that is why I think the index card record really helps me. I mean, it's a good reminder of what should I be focusing on. And I also use a daily, I just have a little weekly planner that I use. It's got 6 lines per day, and I only set myself a few tasks to work on each day, and those are my focus. Okay, there was something else up there. Oh, freeagent.com. Greg says freeagent.com is pretty decent for record keeping. That's another good one. Thank you for that lead there, Greg. I'll look at that one also. Ooh, dry erase wall. See, now if you're a dry erase board person, then you will probably love the idea of an entire wall of dry erase. The other one I've heard with that is it works very well on glass, and so if you've got big windows, you can use those as a whiteboard as well. My friend John Swanson taught me that one. Oh, yeah. What do you think of including downtime in your business plan? I've been thinking lately it would be good for business if we made sure it was scheduled. And I agree. That is a really good point. I have started scheduling that I do not do work on Saturdays. I still do other things that need to be done, around the house and other things, but I do personal stuff on Saturdays instead of working every single day. For a long time, like most entrepreneurs, I was like that. If it was a day, I worked on it. So I have started scheduling that, and that's actually on my weekly planner. And we talked about scheduling regular reviews, and I think it's really smart to schedule some regular downtime as well. Okay. Stand-up workstations. Well, I'm standing up right now. I usually stand up during during webinars to give just a little bit more life to what I'm doing. I hate it when everybody sounds like they're strapped in a desk. They're being held prisoner to do this webinar. Um, I, I'm not a big fan of them. I have a stand-up desk, but I don't use it very much. I use it a little bit. I think they're probably better for you, but I don't use mine. I don't know why. Maybe because I don't like standing up that much. Okay, Taharangi. Did I say that right? Taharangi. I prefer my lazy boy. See, and I'm kind of like that. I'm kind of. I've been known to work on the sofa. It has happened. You and a laptop can work from anywhere. I do try to mix it up a little bit during the day, so I'm not just sitting down. Um, and the best job I ever had is I worked in a laundry and was on my feet all the time, and I lost 15 pounds. So maybe I should do something like that. Oh, there's the bell. We can't answer. No. Okay. That is like a topic that I could do an entire webinar on of the ways that I manage multiple businesses. The basic the basic skills are to be able to track those multiple projects, and I do that with just a basic folder where I have basically one page for each business, and on each page I have the different projects I'm working on. And as I begin the week, I go through that folder and I find the projects I'm working on, what's the next step on each of those projects. Then I put that into my weekly book. I mentioned I have just a little weekly planner with only 6 lines per day, and I fill in those 6 lines to with the tasks that I'm going to work on. And I schedule in those important projects first, along with any appointments that I know I have. If I know I'm doing a webinar on Wednesday, I schedule that in. And then so then I've scheduled the appointments by time, and then I've scheduled the important projects and kept them moving forward. And then other things as they come up get to fit in wherever they can. Now, that's probably the most basic level of how I manage multiple businesses. I would love to see everybody go ahead and put in what different businesses you do. I know Sarah Page is in the tourism business and tourism and economic development. I don't know if I know anybody else exactly what they do off the top of my head looking at the list here. So we have video production and video marketing. We have one-on-one website design and development and training, online business coaching, personal improvement, and networking. Carrie is another multiple business person. Sure. Okay, well that's the other way you manage multiple businesses. Sharon does an equestrian bed and breakfast. Is that not a cool business? That's a cool specialty. Lillian Lake has another cool one, which is building communities around local food systems, rural and urban. That's right, I knew that, Lillian. Deborah does domain development. Sarah Page is tourism, social media, turnkey workshop development, festival and event economic development, impact analysis. And she works with an organization there in Texas that works with an entire area, the Lower Colorado River Association. Is that right? LCRA? I think I got it right. They do cool stuff. Lillian is working with 2 product lines. See, the great thing about developing food systems is she gets to work with cookies and butter. I think this is terrific. Oh, wow. Toharangi has been just recently made redundant and is thinking about starting his business. So, and I see Sarah is also in the just starting her own business thing. I think that's what that just means right there. To which I will say to the both of you, congratulations. There is nothing like running your own business. Corey, you just celebrated 5 years, yes? 5 years this month. Congratulations. It takes, and when you're in that first month, when you're in that very first, either I just got laid off or I just walked off, or today was your last day, like Sarah, it's a scary moment when you step over the threshold and start your own thing. It may succeed or it may fail, which may not be what you want to hear right now, but I'll tell you this. If you continue to learn you continue to move forward, you can make a success. And there is nothing like it. There is nothing like it. So um, to the two of you that are just starting out, I give you our best wishes and say, I know that you will make good stuff happen.